undeveloped countries are undertaking. So first we will discuss about the agricultural environment and development, then the various policies in developed countries, then various policies in developing countries, and then response to globalization and World Trade Organizations. So starting with the agricultural development means what are the theories, what are the policies that are applicable to see the growth and development of the economy, by what factors we work out whether our economy is growing or developing or not. So there are certain principles and theories like Rostow stages of economic growth is one of the economic development theory. Then solo model, another. Then like in endogenous growth theory. Then come to variations in agricultural environment. So
Hello,
this,
hello, Prof. Hello, Madam.
yes, sir.
Please, if you can maximize the presentation a bit. Yeah.
Maximize.
Yes,
Okay.
it is very difficult to see.
It is difficult to see. Okay. Let me check view.
Maybe if you can put it on presentation mode, you can see.
Mhm.
मैम स्लाइड शो में जाइए मैम.
Like this.
ओके
Okay,
मैम.
it is okay.
ओके मैम.
So now starting with the introduction, these are the certain theory. Now it's clear. Slides are clear.
यस मैम इट्स क्लियर.
Actually, with that, I used to go again on the link part and I can see the students. But from now, I have to again escape and then see. That's why I make that desktop on the screen. Actually, it's okay. Now come to introduction. Growth is defined as sustained rise in absolute or per capita income. Means growth is measured through increase in per capita income. If there is increase in the gross domestic product of the country or per capita income, then we assume that the country is growing. But growth is not the basic indicators of whether the economy is rising. We have to undertake economic development. By economic development, uh, uh, we can see by economic development means we have to measure not only the per capita income or gross domestic product, but we have to see the basic dimensions of human life like better education, better health, standard of living. So that the economy is rising is not indicated only through the increase in GDP, but we have to see whether the economy has literate persons or their health is good or their standard of living is improving. So that is economic development. So development occurs when the benefits of growth are distributed among the people in a manner that improves their living standards. Then development is a multi-dimensional process because it covers many things like uh, like human, like education, health, and standard of living. So, economic progress of a nation depends upon the quantity and quality of resources available with them and their efficient utilization. The objective of this unit is to enrich your understanding of the role of the resources like land, labor, capital in explaining the path of agricultural development. So the process of development, that is the role of the what is the role of the resources. Development of agriculture is a prerequisite for economic development, and sectoral diversification is essential to reduce the burden on agriculture. So agriculture is the basic requirement for the growth of an economy because all the raw materials which the industries get, that to get from the agriculture sector. So both are correlated for the growth. Then come to the first stage of economic development. Like Rosto is the person who gives how you can see that the economy is at what stage. So he has given the different five stages of economic development. First stage is traditional society. That is at the earlier phase, the all the society is traditional in nature. Like they are dominated by subsistence agriculture, agriculture based economy is there, intensive labor and low level of trading is there, having a population that has no scientific perspective on the word and technology. Means we follow traditional method of cultivations and marketing. So, and the agriculture is basically subsistence. We do not make a profitable or a corporate venture in agriculture sector. We just believe in subsistence. So that was a traditional society. Then precondition to take off when the people have adopted the advanced techniques in production, marketing, storage, then that is the precondition to take off. Means now you are prepared of taking off the success part or increasing your worth or increasing your production when you have adopted some new technological methods. Then takeoff stage, like we are in takeoff stage, India is in takeoff stage because we had adopted various technological methods, we have boosted our industrial production, we have reached to certain level over there, but now we are thinking of new innovations and commercialization rather than subsistence. So that is the takeoff stage when we think of commercialization rather than subsistence, and we are in a stage at which we have developed a good industrial output. And the growth is not intensive but extensive in agriculture. That is, we can use sophisticated methods of and high yielding methods or high technological methods for production. That is extensive. And intensive means when the production is only labor based, manual based. Getting? Are you getting what I am saying? Mohammed Ahmed. Okay, he is the one who has attended my, I think, 2 or 3 sessions. Mohammed, have you attended my sessions? He's not there. Okay. Then come to the drive to maturity. Drive to maturity means that we have achieved certain targeted level of production and we are now at maturity level. Means we have achieved a standard of living, we have used a better technological method. Now national economy is now thinking of some other things like social welfare. That is drive to maturity. In this the age of high mass consumption, now you think upon the social welfare part, healthcare systems, educations, that is a high mass consumption. When you are thinking of the mass group of people, then you have certain disadvantages and advantages. First, we will discuss about advantages. There is highly respected and referred to the model primary example of interaction of geography, most widely cited development theories. Means many of the theories are based upon this principle. Like you have earlier, when economy grow, we have traditional system. Then when we adopt the technological methods, then we are in precondition to take off. Then when we have adopted and reached a certain level of maximization, then take off. Then we think of another things like social welfare, better health services, social welfare like of military pursuits, then that is the high mass consumption. Then come to another models of economic growth like solo model of economic growth. There is one other model. Now this model basically tells that if the economy is growing, it means the labor capital ratios must be changing. If there is more capital is invested, it means you are in less growth. So your capital labor ratio should be less, whatever you're investing should be less as compared to the labor used. So there are certain assumptions that is prices and wages are flexible, labor and capital are substitutable, there is constant returns to scale, there is neutral technological progress, the saving ratio is constant. Then the basic idea is Basic idea in the solo model is that there are certain equations. Now we will not be discussing the equations. The basic idea is this model focuses on long run economic growth. That is, if we want economic growth, we should induce on savings. If there will be more savings, like we suppose we save more, then we can purchase new equipment, new machineries. So if we save more, we can do more investment. And if we purchase more equipment, more machinery, then we can raise our capital stock. So if there is more saving, there can be more investment, and if there is more investment, we assume that there will be more production, more employment. So raising the investment through more savings and then raising your full employments and then income is the aim of the solo model. Then next model is endogenous growth model. In this model, it is basically on few factors. Like endogenous growth theory maintains that economic growth is primarily the result of internal forces rather than external forces. Means if the people who are engaged in production they are skilled, then you will be getting more production. Means like if you are skilled labor then it will work more efficiently, and if you have unskilled labor then it will not work so efficiently. So improvement in the productivity can be tied up directly to faster innovations and more investment in human capital. So they focus on human capital, that we have to develop the human capital, a skilled labor. That is what endogenous theory said. Then we have Boshrup's theory. In this theory, we have to see how the agriculture can be improved through resource endowment, land labor ratios. So he focused on population part. Like if there is more population, then there will be more growth, but this population need to be taken care of, whether it is skilled or not skilled. Then he also said that as the food increases in arithmetic mean, but if the population increases in geometric mean, means double than the food grain production, then there will be no growth. So if we want a growth, the population should always be less than the existing food supply. So there should be restrictions in the population growth as in contrast with the food supply. The food supply should always be more than the rate of population growth. This is what Malthus said. And then he has given that uh, the population, though the population is growing, but the population should be more skilled and it should have knowledge of how he is using the methods of production. So there should be skilled labor should be there. Then high payoff model. There are high payoff model. This was given in 1964 by Suchlers. He tells that the model recommends the supply of new technologies, new inputs, economic opportunities, enabling the farmer to improve their farming system and living standards. This model tells us that how to create and provide farmers the new higher pay of technology embodied in capital, equip and other inputs. How to increase the productivity of labor. So they basically tell that if you want more output, then you have to increase the productivity of labor. You have to make them equipped. You have to skill them. So all the theories revolved around that those are engaged in the production should be skilled if you want more productivity, more production. So this model that concludes that agriculture experiment stations to provide new technical knowledge, industrial sector to develop, produce and market new inputs, capacity of the farmer to use modern agriculture factor effectively. So those laborers that are engaged should be skilled. If they will be skilled, there will be more industrial development and there will be more agriculture experiments. So next is the weakness of this model. Now you have, before this I also want to share certain models. Are you getting?
Yes.
There are certain models of economic development. I have just seen gone through a paper, so I'm not able to develop the slides, but you should know. So these are the models. Like there are certain general models of agriculture development, like frontier model, conservation model, urban industrial impact model, diffusion model, and high payoff model. इसमें से among these I have told you this high payoff model, but these are also important. Frontier model. So through this paper, this is a research paper which I just find 10 minutes back. So this was a good paper, so I thought that I should discuss it with you. So there is a conservation model, means if we are raising crop or livestock, then we should use the resource in such a way that there should be no any wastage. So the techniques used should be labor intensive, capital intensive, everything should be used most effectively and efficiently. There should not be a wastage. So it is a conservation model, means we have to protect the things which we are using. We have to utilize them optimally, not maximally. This is the conservation model. See, the limitation of the diffusion model is that that is based upon certain there should be a rapid modernization in should be there. So if there is rapid modernization, then it can't be a labor intensive, it can be only capital intensive. So this model says that everything should be effectively used, but at last we know that we can't intensify the labor because it will raise the cost. So we have to intensify the machineries. Then urban industrial impact model is same similar. That is, if we have need growth, then we have to create a good industrial development. We have to raise the non-agricultural sectors. We have to grow the non-agricultural sectors for growth. Then diffusion model. In this diffusion model, this model says that this model says that everything should be diffused of, means we should use the better methods of better or effective or technological. One should be having knowledge of whatever he is doing, like he should be diffusion of better husbandry practices. He should know which seed variety he should be using. He should know what is the appropriate amount of fertilizer or pesticide he should do. So diffusion model means the economy will grow only when we use the various resources up to the mark, up to the required level. There should not be over and underutilization of the resources. This is the diffusion model. Then we have another high payoff model that we have studied. More skilled is the labor, more industrial development will take place. This is the so there are different models. You should know at least the names of agricultural growth models like frontier model, conservation model, diffusion model, high payoff, and urban industrial. By the name, you can know. Conservation means you have to conserve whatever you are producing. Industrial impact means if you want more growth, you have to develop your industry sector. Diffusion model means you should be effectively using your things without wastage. Then high payoff means more is the efficient labor, more is your growth. So these are the certain growth models. Moving back to the slides, getting, am I clear?
Yes, doctor.
Then come to agriculture policies of developed countries. There are certain policies of US, European Union, Japan, and then there is a comparative analysis. You can see here in United States we have certain theories of growth, like there is a great depression in 2933. A characteristics agriculture policies has been developed in USA, and that is named as New Deal in 1933. So what is this New Deal all about? This aimed in balancing, creating a balancing between production and consumption to ensure the parity price. Means the prices should be according to the demand. So according to the demand, there should be production. If this thing has occurred, there will be no inflation. So if they focus on this part, excuse me, then they focused on ensuring food safety, promoting nutritional and convenient food products, delivering food assistance to low income consumers, protecting environmental quality, developing efficient markets. So these were the basic objectives. So this is how their farm income is increasing. This is their farmers bill. In this bill, they have said that the commodity credit corporation they have created. So they have to take care of this commodity credit corporations. Means whatever farmer want money that comes from this commodity credit corporations. This is what they have. They provide this farmer credit at low interest rate. Then we have common agriculture policies in European countries. They have objectives were to provide adequate food at reasonable prices, to need to provide adequate income to the farmers and increase their productivity. So for this, they have again community preferences, means they have to take care of the community. Whatever is the demand of the community, that should be fulfilled. If it is not, then we should go for exports part. Then what is the financial responsibility, then encouraging food quality. Then there are certain policies of Japan has good agricultural policies, like uh, we can know that they have the GDP around this, around 2 lakhs. Then agriculture in this billion rupees, the total area is this much, about 37,000. And then you can see here that arable land is 11%. Irrigated rice field, they mainly grow tambo or Sudan. The non-irrigated vegetable field is hatek. Then there are certain food items like rice, egg, onion, and cucumber they usually grow. Food items that Japanese produces in sufficient quantity are these. Then there are certain problems that they face, like mechanization require high cost, damage by the birds and mammals. Like in our country, that there has been a damage by monkeys. The eco farm in Japan. They have also created eco farm, and Japanese eco farm fruit trees produce fruits and serve as windbreaks. Agricultural area are filled with ponds. Use of tadpole shrimps has been as a control of paddy weed. So these are the certain important things that Japan follow in agriculture sector. Then they have commodity policies. They have producer quotas that one can produce only this much amount. Then they have rice diversification programs, food safety and quality programs, high tech agriculture. In Japan is they are ahead in biotechnology. They grow their rice with amazing varieties. Tomato plant bears 10,000 tomatoes with rotating lens system. One tomato plant at Tosca Science Exhibition in Japan produced this much of tomatoes. So this is robotics. Then vegetable production, lettuce is the most widely grown vegetable there. Then major crops are beetroot, sugar beets, vegetable fruits, rice. Then we have pumpkin also there. Then livestock sector is also growing tremendously in Japan. So Japan is a good agriculture growing economy. Then rice is as a food. Then come to comparative economies of all the three. You can see here similarities. What are the similarities and what are the differences? All have reduced their use of direct price support in recent year. Income, all have increased their reliance on income support to direct producers. But here, direct price support maintained only for sugar, dairy, tobacco. Here, the direct price is maintained for many commodities, and here the price support is certain based upon certain quotas, means certain restrictions are there state wise, whether how much a state can produce or export or import. So there are more restrictions in Japan. Then provide export subsidies primarily for dairy and poultry. This US provides basically more subsidies. These provide export subsidies with the help of the WTO. And in Japan, there is no export subsidy. So Japan has more restrictions as compared to the another countries. Agriculture tariffs average 12% is there. Here there is more tariff. That is tariff is restrictions on export and import. Certain tariff barriers are there. That is tax imposed on export and import basically. So this is 12% and in EU it is 30%. Then you have comparison of policies in selected countries. Direct payment is not environmental direct payment by farmland, direct payment to disadvantages, discrete price support by production adjustment. So you can see more restrictions are on Japan as compared to the other countries. Then come to national agricultural policy of China, Indonesia, Japan, and India. China, Indonesia, Thailand, sorry, and India. Am I going right? Am I audible?
Yes, doctor, you're audible.
Okay. Then basic national agriculture policies are uh, national agriculture policy of any nation which has predominantly agrarian economy should emphasize development and promotion of agricultural technology. So they said that if you want to have a boost up in agriculture sector, if you want to boost up in agriculture sector, you should use a high advanced technological methods of production. So this is expansion of irrigated land in China. So China's agriculture and rural policy is under constant change. But after globalization, this there has been removal of certain restrictions. Now the China is having more exports. Then you have Indonesia on research and development front, it consolidate and increase funding for research institutes, developing crop and livestock varieties with improved quality. So China, after WTO has been made, and after globalization, the restrictions have been removed, and there is more trade among these countries. Then in Indonesia also, we have a tremendous growth has been achieved the last 10 years. You can see the labor in agriculture sector has also there has been an increase, and you can see the age group, the young people is 23%, then adults are more, and then total percentage, so more adults are working are working there, so it's a good thing. Now you can see here the story how Indonesia farm acquire land. Government gives the land to the people. Farmers clearing forest by themselves. Farmers renting the land and farmer renting land of village leaders. So there are certain things in Thailand. That is the Thailand and the developing countries. Most of are located in tropics areas. So they are going basically on agriculture and then livestock also. They have to take care of the natural resources, biodiversity, and environment. So there is a great biodiversity you can see in Thailand, and one has to conserve all the biodiversity also along with the farming system in Thailand. So this is a very good thing about that they focus on organic farming. So there are they focus on sustainable agriculture actually. There are five farming system: integrated system, organic farming, natural farming, agroforestry, and new theory farming. So to conserve their biodiversity, they have approach to sustainable agriculture through integrated farming, organic farming, natural farming, agroforestry, etc. Then agricultural policies in India, we have a National Agriculture Policy 2000. So the basic thing is our population basically depends upon agriculture, and large part of the income and GDP is coming from the agriculture sector. We have different policies like Bhandaran Yojana, insurance schemes, crop insurance scheme are there. In Bhandaran Yojana, we create a warehousing facilities for the farmers so that they can store their produce for a longer period of time, and whenever required they can release their produce from that. They also get loans on this warehousing receipts, that they have stored their produce in certain godowns and they get receipt for it. This type of receipts is given to again the banker as a mortgage. On that basis they can take a loan. So we have seed policies for getting better seed, we have drought management policies. So we have policies of growth and developments. Then come to trade reforms. We have now, before moving to trade, the national policy on agriculture seeks to actualize the vast untapped growth potential of Indian agriculture. So, strength these, and secondly, strengthening the rural infrastructure to support faster agriculture development. Then, promoting value addition, accelerating the growth of agribusiness, creating employment in rural areas so that the standard of living can be raised upon, and there should be proper growth and development of the economy. So these are the basic objectives to get a better, to get a boost up in agriculture production, to have value addition, to growth of agro business industries, for better employment, and thus raising the living standards of the people of the country. These were the basic objectives of our national agricultural policy. Then we have trade policies. Trade in China, we have trade in Indonesia, we have tariffs barrier, non-tariffs barrier, then in Thailand, and then in India. Come to India first. Particularly, we have WTO regimes by which we usually do trading, whether how much amount is to be traded to another countries, how much taxes has one has to bear. All this is done through WTO globalization. That is, globalization is a term used to describe how trade and technology has been taken up in the world independently. Excuse me. It refers to the process of economic integration, economic openness, economic interdependence in the world economy. There are widespread cross-border economic transactions. Besides, the process also involve profit and competitiveness, which are driving forces of globalization. So, what is globalization? Globalization refers to the development of an increasingly integrated commercial system based on free markets in which nations are open to foreign trade and investment. Globalization means we are open for export and import things. That is globalization. We have to integrate different economic systems and work together. That is globalization. Major forces in expanding globalization. First one is technological, like some countries are good in technology, like China and Japan. We can buy electronics from them. So that is globalization. This is basically on resource endowment. Just which country has resource endowment, then we have to export from that country. That is we have to export the things and import from that country where we have, the thing which are in less amount in our country and in reduced amount, then we have to import. So the country which have a tremendous growth in certain electronics things, then we export things from them. We actually import things from them, not export. Export is something giving out, and import is somebody giving taking in. So we take in the electronics from Japanese and China countries. Transportation cost and delivery schedules of, are you getting what I want to say? Is it clear? What is globalization? Are you listening, Mohammed?
Yes, I'm trying to get some words for globalization.
Okay. So again, I shall be repeating. Globalization refers to development of an increasingly integrated commercial system based upon the free markets in which nations are open to the foreign trade and investments. So, this is basically technological advances which have increased the speed and reduced the cost of communication. Transportation costs and delivery schedules of goods reduced. Combined output of developing countries and world trade have shown spectacular growth. Growth in amount of money floating around the countries means whatever you are producing, if you have globalization, means you can move your product to any of the country, that you are free to move your product to any of the country. You are integrated with another country to freely work with them. If you are producing something automobile is you are creating, but some part is not in your country, then you can have it from another country, assemble it in your own country. You are free to trade. That is globalization. Is you are integrating the entire world for the production process. Then benefits are is it elevates the party, it improves the social condition, carry out social and political reforms, enable countries to develop, and lengthens the lifespan. Then critics of globalization, the flaws attract critics, widening the income gap between rich and poor countries. Developing countries had lost their sovereignty. It may need a few changes to smooth out some rough edges, but it is most powerful force today for social goods. Then we have WTO. This everything revolves around this WTO and GATT and WTO and globalization for the trade. So, in World Trade Organization, this was established in 1995 at Switzerland. There are 163 members and 20 observers government. This means one country, one vote system. All the members has veto power. That is, we
But
are
doctor,
not
what does veto power mean?
most favored nation. Yes, you are asking something not audible.
Yeah, I said, what does veto power means?
Veto means one is free to ask for anything, for any trading. That is veto power. The power to say no or to stop an official action. This is veto power. Any country, if any objection is there, then they can say upon that it's okay. We can't export it or we can't import it from that country. That means the member of the WTO have veto power. Means it's not that what they have introduced that is okay. Each country has to put their own opinions. That is veto power. Okay. Like if I say you something, stand up or sit down or do this work for me, then it is you will also, or you have to produce something. You have to take paddy in your crop, in your cultivation, use this variety, high yielding varieties. But if you want some another variety to grow, so that is your veto power. Yes, you can put your opinion also for further production or further trading. That is veto power. Okay.
Okay.
This is basically meaning the power to say no or to stop an official action. That is veto power. Then role of WTO in globalization to reduce trade barriers between nations. This is very important to settle the trade related disputes. Like we have veto powers, so by this we can settle down various trade related disputes. If there is objections, then we can resolve them. To provide forum for further negotiating further trade liberalization. So these are the basic things about WTO. Then they also take care of intellectual property rights. The WTO intellectual property agreements amounts to the rules for trade and investment in ideas and creativity. So they not only trade in goods and services but also on certain ideas like copyright, patenting, trademarks. So they also work upon these intellectual property rights. So WTO overriding the objective is to help trade flow slowly, freely, fairly, and predictably. So this is the basic objective. It does this by administering the trade agreements, acting as a forum for trade negotiations, settling trade disputes, reviewing national trade policies, assisting developing countries in trade policies, organizing trade programs, cooperating with other international organizations. So these are the basic things of WTO. That is doing the trade which is free, fair, and predictable. Then come to structure. Then come to benefits. This system helps to promote peace. Disputes are handled constructively. Rules may make life easier for all. Free trade should be there. It provides more choice of products. Trade raises the income. Trade stimulate economic growth. The basic principle make life more efficient. Government are shielded from lobbying. The system encourage good environment. So basic thing is it is for trade and there should be free trade, transparent trade. If there is any dispute that can be settled down, it should left everything should be effectively and efficiently used, maintaining the quality and quantity. And there should be the peace in the economy. There should not be trade wars among the economy. So this is the main thing. And then we have discussed about structure that in this structure of WTO is run by the member government. All major decisions are made by the memberships as a whole, either by the minister who meet at least every 2 years. Once every 2 years, decisions are normally taken by consensus. The WTO is different from some other international organizations such as World Bank and International Monetary Fund. So WTO is also linked financially with the World Bank and IMF. Then come to so this is what all trade revolves all around these things, globalization and WTO. Then we have seen the trade reforms in China. Land, labor, and water shifted to non agricultural uses, and incentives for agriculture production deteriorated. So, we can see here in China that basically there is more growth of non agriculture sector also. In 81, the government began to decentralize agriculture production from the commune system to individual farm household. So, in second phase of this reform, they mainly work on liberalization in China. In Indonesia, despite our ongoing reforms, non-tariff barriers are still significant. Means there are more restrictions in Indonesia in case of the export and import. Then in Thailand, you can see that the main focus was on conservation of biodiversity. Then you can see here that in India, there are basically the trading system is based upon WTO and IPR regime. That is, the reform indicate the government will endeavor to create a favorable economic environment for increasing capital formations and farmers' own investment by removal of distortion in incentives for agriculture, terms of trade with manufacturing sectors, and bringing about external and domestic market reforms backed by rationalization of domestic tax structure. Means there is growth in the every sector. There is a better terms of trade. That is, there are certain things on copyrights, trademarks also, and there are distortions in incentives. Means there is restrictions that about the incentives given to agriculture. there is certain barriers are put on, like there is growth, export of horticultural produce, milk and milk product is there, focuses on diversification. So this were the basic thing. Now we move to the G20 part. As you know that now we are giving several things on G20, and now in G20 meet has been taken place in our Uttarakhand state. So G20 founded in 26 September 1999, 21 years ago, with the aim to bring together systematically important industrialized and developing economy to discuss the major issues in the global economy. So G20 has expanded its agenda since 2008, and heads of the government or heads of the state as well as finance ministers and foreign ministers. So our Prime Minister Modi ji has led the G20 for adopting more effectively dealing uh, convergent with original purpose of promoting sustainable growth and sustainable stability. So the basic idea behind this is to ensure the growth, sustainability, stability, climate change effect, and to fight against technologically driven terrorism. So two-thirds of the world population, approximately half of the world land area, we can see here 80% of the world trade, 90% of the gross world product, and 92% of research and development worldwide. So, this is all about G20. So, our government is basically focusing on sustainable development, growth, uh, and protecting the natural biodiversity. So, this is the basic agenda behind this is empowering the people by creating the conditions in which all people are there, that so that they can work effectively, safeguarding the planet, shaping the new frontiers, that is innovations, technological advancements. So these are the three basic agendas, that is empowering the people, developing innovations, technological advancement, and then saving the planet. So these were the issues like unemployment, monetary stability, multilateral trade negotiations. That is, there should be removal of trade restrictions. Then there should be cooperative relationships. There should be better trade in the economy. So these are the basic issues. So this is all about my lecture for today. And then the things you should know about agriculture development is necessary for economic takeoff. So, what is the takeoff condition? What is the solo theory? What is high payoff theory? Then, what is the US agricultural policy all about? What are the components of Japan policies? What is globalization? What is WTO? What are the various policies in Japan, Indonesia, India? So, these are the things that you should know. So, this is all about my today's lecture. Again, I will be giving a brief, a very short from the starting. Like today, we have discussed about various agricultural, environment, and development policies, then various policies of developed and developing countries, then response to globalization and world trade. So, starting from these are the names of the policies you should know, and besides these names, there should be, I will insert a more slide. There should be models of agricultural development. Can you name any model? I have showed you through a PDF. Can you name any model? Anyone? Can you name any model?
Um, I can only describe one.
Yes. Which one?
The one that requires you having the same proportion of population as against production.
So there were different models which we have discussed here. These were frontier model, conservation model, urban industrial impact model, diffusion model, and high payoff model. Okay, these were the basic models of economic growth which we have discussed. In this, we have to focus on industrial development, we have to focus on conserving the resources, we have to diffuse means we have to make best use of the resource available, and high payoff means if we are using high and advanced technological method, then we will be getting a high output. This is high payoff. This is what I want to say from these slides. Later on, I will be importing here. Then we have certain introductory slides on this growth and development part. Then there are stages of economic growth like traditional society, precondition to take off, then take off stage, then drive to maturity stage, then age of high mass consumption. That is basically on social welfare. So after this, everything becomes stable and stagnant. So there are certain advantages and disadvantages. Then we have discussed about solo model. Solo model basically focus on the capital investment. If there is more saving, if there is more investment, there will be more growth. This is what solo model has indicated. Then endogenous growth model was there. This model says that there are certain internal factors that is leading to the growth rather than external one. Like internal factor is we should invest on human capital, skilling the present labor. This is then Boshrup's model that focuses on the population. If there is more population, there will be more growth, but this population should be, again, they focused on this population should be well equipped, well trained, and skilled. High payoff model means if you are using more technological methods, there will be more production, more employment. Then we have illustrated few policies, what US is doing, what EU is doing, what China is doing, what India is, what is the agricultural policy of India, how Japan is growing in agriculture, in livestock, in vegetable production. This is growing very well. Then we have better technological methods in Japan for growing different things. Then there is a comparative analysis that shows that there was more restrictions on Japan compared to US economies and European Union economies. So there is more restrictions on Japan. You can see here there has been less export, less subsidies, more tariff barriers in Japan. No restrictions are there. Then we have different policies, objectives. Then we have studied about WTO. What is WTO all about? Thailand economies to conserve their biodiversity. Basically, agriculture is to maintain their economy, to get a high agricultural production, to conserve their natural resources for the sea development. Then we have China economy. Then we have studied about globalization, world trade, their benefits. Then we have seen what is the agenda being focused on G20 nowadays. That is safeguarding our planet or biodiversity, focusing on innovations and improving and empowering the people. These were the basic agendas. Thank you, everyone. This is all for today. Any queries?
Yeah, doctor, I want to ask among these models that was
Hmm.
highlighted, which one do
Hmm.
you see best fit for Africa?
For Africa, I think if you go for high payoff modeling, means high technological method is if he is used, then it is a good one. How technological advancement is there in Africa? Can you explain?
It's not
But
very much. It's not
uh,
very much,
it's not
unless
very
for
much. So,
Yes.
means you are not at that stage of technological advancement. So, you can go for conservation and diffusion model. Conservation and diffusion. Whatever resources you are using, conserving model of agriculture development involved the advance in agriculture and livestock husbandry associated with the agricultural revolutions. Means whatever you are focusing on the labor intensive technique, use of organic manures, labor intensive capital formation, you have to effectively use land and water resources. So I think conserving model and diffusion model is best for you. In diffusion model, again, you have to use the better practices, whatever available, because you are not at a very high level of advanced technological method. So you should be going through diffusion model or conservation model. I think so. You can also give your opinion about urban industrial impact, because I don't think there is much industrial development in Africa. Is there?
Yeah, really, there is no much.
There is not
If
much.
there is provided, it's based on
And
zones or
again
cities.
for high payoff model, there should be a public private sector merger should be there. There should be better industrial sector. So which is not much in Africa for high payoff model. These are the prerequisites.
Thank you, doctor. That's all from me.
But it is also written that the key to transforming a traditional agriculture into a productive source of economic growth is an investment designed to make modern, high payoff inputs available to the farmer in poor countries. So we can think of actually the best model is high payoff model. What we do that we always suggest these things to the economy that is growing, that they should grow their industrial sector, they should have a good technical know-how, they should have better knowledge about the input. If they are doing so, there will be more development. Like if new high yielding varieties were used, then you will be getting more productivity. So this is what high payoff input is. So we always recommended, like here it is written, you can see here. However, the high returns associated with adoption of new varieties and associated technical inputs and management practices have led to rapid diffusions of new varieties among farmers in various Asia, African, and Little America. Though, so this has been applied in your country also. It's not that it is not applied. So this is the best model. So we should go for this high payoff model only. This is my conclusion. This is the upgraded version of all the models, high payoff model. So one should go with this model. Okay. Any other query? So model is high payoff model is the best model if one want to go for the growth and development of the economy in agriculture. Anything else? This is all from my side. Anything else which you want to ask?
None from me. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
doctor.
Shall I repeat the slides or it's okay?
It's okay.
Okay, okay. Thank you then. This is all from my side. And I think this was the last lecture from my side, all about agriculture policies being covered. So this is the last time we are together. Thank you everyone for your patience to listening towards me. And I hope you get everything which I wanted to explain to you. Thank you everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, doctor.
Thank you.
There was an assignment on the LMS portal, and it's scheduled for 31st of March. Is it still gonna happen as 31st, or it will be rescheduled?
Okay, that sir will be telling you about assignments part.
Mr. Mohammed, what you
Yes.
want to ask about assignments?
Yes, yes.